being afraid to ride your horse is not a good place to be. And I think that anybody who's ever experienced that, or anybody who knows anybody who's experiencing that, can really and truly attest to it. It's a horrible feeling. You've kind of feelings of guilt and shame and, of course, the fear that's there as well. And I do think that it can often feel hopeless. However, I believe that if you're willing to commit to giving it time and having a plan and being diligent in following it, you can really and truly overcome that. And that's what I want to talk about today, how to overcome fear in horse riding. Hey there, and welcome to the Daily Strides podcast. My name is Lorna, and I'm an equestrian trainer and coach, and I help riders all over the world have better conversations with their horses and understand both themselves and their horses better so that they can successfully work with their horse and, well, enjoy each other too. So, fear about horse riding. It is a big thing, and over the years, obviously, I've spoken with lots of riders who struggle with this, and my heart always goes out to them because it really is debilitating, eh? And sometimes it can be caused by a past experience, and sometimes it can be created kind of in our mind by thinking of what could happen, okay? And we kind of become these prophets of doom. But either way, I really do believe that fear is not going to simply vanish on its own. And I think sometimes riders can make the mistake of thinking that it has shifted or disappeared. But what often happens is as soon as pressure is applied, meaning as soon as the rider finds themselves in a situation where things are not going exactly to plan, or things are going a million miles in the opposite direction of the plan, okay? You often find that fear pops up again, okay? And really and truly, that's where you don't want things to crop up. Now, I am a firm believer that confidence is something that's built over time, okay? And I think that when you can couple time, okay, so we said this has to be built over time. When you can couple that with repetition and self-awareness, being really consistent, and also taking the correct actions, well, I think that that is the key to actually beginning to overcome fear in a way that actually will allow you to move forward in your riding and to begin enjoying horse riding again, because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want to enjoy it. We want to have fun. We ride because of how it makes us feel. And if it's not making us feel good, well, it takes away a big part of that, of the experience. It takes it away from us. Okay, so first and foremost, I suggest really thinking about what you're actually afraid of. I think that when you can name something, it tends to unmask it a little bit. And I think that a lot of riders, they'll say very broad and, I don't know, like kind of, wishy-washy things like, I'm afraid to ride. It's like, okay, why? Keep asking why. I'm afraid to ride versus I'm worried my horse is going to spook, spin and dump me on the ground so hard that I break something. They're two different things. Like if you're talking about the horse that's going to spook, spin and dump you on the ground, okay, and you're then afraid that it's going to break something, you can actually start to dismantle that fear a little bit, okay? And if you take the second statement, the spook, spin, dumping on the ground part, okay, and you begin to kind of think about that, there's actually ways that you can begin to, I don't want to say negate the fear completely, but there are ways that you can begin to limit maybe what can potentially happen when you get on your horse, okay? So there's a couple of different kind of things that you can do in order to do this. First of all, remind yourself that your horse, usually doesn't really want to dump you. Okay, I do realize some horses do, but if we take that specific statement, okay, the horse probably doesn't really want to dump the rider. The horse is just thinking about, oh, Sherbert, I'm going to get us both out of here as quick as possible, okay? And then also, you can begin to maybe identify specific triggers that your horse has reacted to before that maybe has given this fear to you or put this thought in your head, okay? And from there, you could begin identifying the triggers and saying, well, how could I avoid the triggers? Like, what could I do? What's in my control here? What am I able to do? Okay. And then you could start developing your horse's confidence in himself. You could maybe begin to think about how you could maybe develop your horse's confidence in you a little bit more, okay? You could think about areas to ride that maybe this particular scenario, there's less of a likelihood of it actually happening. And you could, think about, okay, so let's say everything fails and you actually do fall. Well, what could you do to maybe limit the severity of the fall if it were to happen? Okay, so that's just taking like that one statement that a rider could say, and really just beginning to approach it from a different perspective, maybe one of curiosity. So instead of it being anxiety, thinking about, okay, that's curious. What could we do about that, okay? Now, from here, I think starting to also think about what you can control is really important. And, for years and years around these parts, I've always said the only thing you can really control is yourself. However, okay, when you find yourself in the midst of maybe the plan gone seriously wrong, okay? Your mind is a difficult thing to control, okay? It will tell you terrible things. And it feels like every ounce of self-control that you've ever kind of worked hard to create and cultivate, it just flies straight out the window, okay? Now, I also think that there actually are external factors that you can control in your riding. Okay. And that if you just could maybe, focus on these a little bit more instead of potentially overlooking them because you're so caught up in the fear itself. Okay. I think that that's really important. So you could control things like the time of day. Now, the time of day is important because different horses have different energy levels and different humans have different energy levels. And you need to find kind of times of day that's going to suit both of you best and work best to the situation where you want to work together. Okay, so that's important. And also when you consider time of day, it could be things like traffic, bystanders, other horses around. Okay, there's a lot of different things. You could think about the weather. You could think about who you're riding with, where you're going to ride, what feed your horses on. Okay, we could look at this from a larger perspective, how balanced and coordinated you are, and maybe begin to create some planned responses instead of fear-based reactions. Now, I will admit that some of these are things you can do pretty quickly and some are more long-term things, but it is important to have a plan and to really and truly assess, okay, what can I change? What is within my zone of control and what is within my zone of influence, okay? And where could I maybe have a little bit more influence? So it could be how fit or fresh your horse is, the thoughts in your head. Yeah, they can be a toughie, but well worth kind of really diving into and getting to the bottom of, okay? How fit and supple you are, increasing the trust and the partnership of your relationship with your horse, and also developing your horse's confidence in himself, okay? That's really important, okay? But I do think that just wishing and hoping and kind of keeping your fingers crossed, oh, please, wish and a promise, I don't think that's the way to overcome this situation. I think you really do need to get down to the nitty gritty, see where you can start taking action and then take the action. Now, I also will say here that I am not a big fan of the just do it kind of way of responding to this sort of situation, okay? I do think that there's times and places where, yes, this is good advice, but I also think that sometimes just doing it, like if a trainer or an instructor says, just get on with it, okay? And you just do it. And you might even succeed, you might do it. But I do think that it's been masked a little bit. And again, that when pressure is applied, so when the plan goes wonky, that is where any underlying issues are going to bubble back up to the surface. And that's where you don't want them, okay? So I'm not a big fan of just doing it. I think that if you've had or experienced fear regarding horse riding or regarding an element within horse riding or something to do with, if you want, equestrianism, okay? I do think that time and consistency and all those things I spoke about, that is more the way to deal with this problem, okay? And you can start by kind of figuring out, okay, what feels good now? Like, where are we right now? What's comfy now? Because I think that that's really important to kind of reset both yourself and your horse. Remember, if you're already experiencing fear, that fear crops up literally every time that thought pops into your head, your body just kind of has this reaction to the thought and you begin to feel the emotion, okay? So it is important to reset that by getting comfortable. Now, sometimes getting comfortable is being on the other side of a stable door from your horse, and that's okay. Sometimes getting comfortable is being on the ground beside your horse, and that's okay. Sometimes it is being in an arena or an enclosed space. That's fine. Sometimes it is being led in an open space by somebody that you trust on the ground. That's also okay. There are lots of different ways and different, depending on your situation, that you can feel comfortable. But what I do suggest is getting comfortable and actually staying there for a while. Like, enjoy it, hey? Make the most of it. Settle in and really make it feel like home, okay? I think that's really, really important at this point. And I think that rather than being mindless, so you can initially kind of just enjoy it. And if you've been experiencing fear for a long period of time, that will be nice. And I think that's good. But then shift into, how does this feel? Okay. And I really want you to become aware of the feelings in your body when it feels good, when it feels comfortable, because that is what we want to start now feeling as being almost like the normal for you and your horse. So in order for it to be normal, you need to really experience in it. And in order for you to experience it, well, you need to be present in it. Okay. So really and truly get in there. And then from there, you're going to start doing the work. Okay. Now, I know you're like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. Okay. But it's going to be fun then, because you're going to have found the comfort zone. You've spent all the time. You might take up to 3 months to get to this point, okay? But you've spent the time there. You recognize all the things. Now you can begin to actually do the work. And the work is going to be to intentionally put yourselves into situations that you're going to feel a little bit of discomfort. You're like, why would I do that? No, it's okay, okay? Trust me. What I really believe here is that if you can plan this, okay, and if you can actually create the pressure that we spoke about, okay, if you can create situations where, whoa, this doesn't feel good, but you can create them in a way that you just have to stay there for a little while. It could only be a few seconds, okay, a little while. And then you can, on your own, knowingly go back to the comfort zone. That's going to be the key, okay? It's almost like you want to stick your toe out. You're like, oh, it's cold outside. And then you come back in or put your toe in the freezing cold water and you're like, oh, jeepers. And then you come back in and then slowly you'll actually get your whole body in there, okay? So that is what we are looking to do. And again, this is going to depend and vary on the actual circumstance, the fear, all of that stuff. So there's no right or there's no wrong. Just do what feels best for you, okay? And I would begin then, once you've kind of started doing it and you almost like begin to get a little bit more comfortable with being uncomfortable, start setting goals around it. No, we're going to do this for a minute or for 5 minutes, maybe for 20 minutes, okay? We're going to start, or I'm going to move 20 meters down the path and then I'll come back. And then I'm going to do 50 meters and then I'm going to come back, okay? Start setting yourself little goals, because that is how you're going to actually begin to expand that, okay? And then it's just a matter of being consistent and, repeating the process over and over and over again until it becomes so boring. But what is important is, as you're repeating the process, as it's becoming boring, that's what we want, that's the goal here, okay? This becomes a non-event in you and your horse's life. It is important to continue to be aware, okay? And also to continue to take good, correct action, okay? I think that sometimes we can fall into a place of complacency, and that's also not going to help, because I think that when things do begin to feel uncomfortable again, you're going to go, oh no, I was right the first time. No, not doing that. So like, be really aware all the time of how you're feeling and maybe the thoughts and things like that. But I do believe that over time, you are going to be able to overcome this. And unfortunately, I really don't think that there's a quick fix. It's going to take time, but it's well worth it. Well worth the time, especially if this is holding you back from doing something that you once loved and that you know you loved and that you know brings benefit to your life and that it kind of has this lovely positive ripple effect into all other areas. Well worth the time and the wait. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for today. I hope this will help you if you're in that. It really is. It's not a good situation to be in, but hopefully this will help. And if you do have any other issues, you are more than welcome to reach out. You can shoot me an email, lorna@stridesforsuccess.com, and I can see maybe there's a way I can help you there as well. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Have a great day. Keep well, and I'll chat to you soon. Be good. Bye.